Hi, everyone. I'm Linda Braun, and I'm the YALSA CE consultant. And I'm here today with Jane Gov and Katie Yu, who are going to talk about the symposium and give people a sort of inside look at what it's like to go, particularly for the first time if you've never been to the YALSA Teen Services Symposium, or if you just want some tips about what to expect and what it's like there, we'll give you that info today. So Jane and Katie, I would love it for each of you to introduce yourselves. So Jane, tell everybody who you are.
I'm Jane Gov. I'm a teen services librarian from the Pasadena Public Library in California. I am the current Financial Advancement Committee Chair and an ex officio member of the YALSA Board.
Thank you. And Katie, who are you?
Hi, I'm Katie Yu. I'm a middle school librarian in Maryland, and I was the stipend winner last year.
Right. So that was your very first time being at the symposium, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And Jane, was that, I just asked you this, was that your very first time?
It was.
Yeah.
And I was also the chair of the planning and marketing committee for that symposium.
It was the first ever, if I remember correctly, teen services symposium as opposed to the young adult literature symposium. Yes. And right?
Yeah. I think it's actually called the young adult services symposium now.
Right.
But yes, it was. We expanded the focus to wider than just literature.
Yeah, so but it was great last year having the whole mix of different kinds of programs and lots of different opportunities. So we have a set of questions. We're gonna try and be pretty informal here, but we have a set of questions for today. And so I'm gonna just go through them and we'll talk about what it's like to attend the symposium. So the first one I'm gonna ask is, when does the symposium actually start?
It starts Friday morning with the pre-conferences, though in my point of view, probably before that when preparing. But yes, Friday morning, I think the first pre-conference might be at 9 a.m. in the morning. Right. And that's the Friday day.
Right, and so if you don't sign up for a pre-conference, those are cost more. And so if you don't sign up for the pre-conference, then I think the first program is on Saturday morning.
It is, but there is still the opening session on Friday afternoon. Last year's was at 4 p.m. Yes. So that was also something that that people could still attend if they arrived, or if they weren't able to go to the pre-conferences.
YALSA had actually paid for my flight and my conference. So that gave me the opportunity to participate in the opening that we were just talking about, and then the 2 days after of all of the different sessions that were there. But I went to the pre-conference because they sounded really cool. So
yeah, so actually, what pre-conference did you go to, or pre-conferences? What did you do?
So I know I went to more than one, but the only one I can remember at the moment was the one with Jean Lewin Yang, which had to do with graphic novels, and it was absolutely fabulous.
That's great.
It wasn't my first time seeing him talk, but it was really great from a school perspective to see how teachers incorporated American-born Chinese into the classroom.
Oh yeah.
So it was fabulous.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really great. Yeah, I know there was last year, there was a pre-conference about community engagement. And then I think there was even one about using Scratch. And then this year there's three conferences, one about integrating teen voice, and one about marketing, and design for equity is another one. And that's actually a tour of, what does it say? Designed for Equity tour the Children's Museum of Pittsburgh. That's what it is, in the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh. So there's a lot going on that Friday. And just looking at the opening session, that is on Friday at 5 p.m. So that's when the whole thing starts for people who didn't actually participate. So did you participate, Katie and Jane, did you participate in other extra activities? Because there's a lot of extra activities going on this year. So some of those evening events or things like that. What did you guys do in the evenings? Not to get too personal.
I attended the book blitz. I really was not expecting how big it was. I didn't actually know what it was. I read a little bit about it that authors are going to be there, but it was essentially a giant book fair with all YA authors, and attendees got to pick up a free book, a few free books. So that was really, really nice. And plus, I'm interested in everyone there because they all write YA. So that was really, really fun. And that was in the evening.
Yeah.
Um,
Go ahead.
I also attended the luncheon, so not in the evening, but last year's was Jack Gantos was speaking, and he was very, very interesting. And that was also another time that I was able to network with some of the librarians at the table. So that was really fun too.
Yeah, Katie, what else did you do besides the sessions?
So I was a YALSA hub blogger for a couple of years, and I'm actually on their advisory board. And so I met up with other bloggers that were there. And so on Friday night, I believe we all got together and had dinner. There was a bunch of us bloggers, and then people that were also in their libraries that were there. So there's probably about 10 of us. And then I also did the book blitz the next evening, which was by far the coolest thing I've ever been to, because like we were talking about, it is like a YA book fair where you get to meet all of the authors. And I had no idea what to expect, and it was a lot of fun.
It's amazing. That room, I was in that room. That room is huge, and it's just filled with books and authors. I don't even remember how many there were, but it was like a huge room. And then, I don't know if you guys remember if you were there, but I was one of the people who was helping shepherd people in, and the line to get to the book blitz was amazing. Did you guys see that line?
I was inside, so I did not
see. Yeah.
I was in the front of the line because somebody warned me about getting there early.
Yeah, and what happens is you get you get like 3 tickets, right? So you get, Jane, explain that. Do you remember that?
I think everybody got 3 tickets. 5 tickets?
It's actually, I'm looking at the website now, you get up to 5 books. So you get 5 tickets this year.
Okay, then it was 5 tickets, and you got to go around and use your tickets. And I think there were more than 30 authors there, so you really have to pick and choose which ones you wanted. And for the ticket, if you had those tickets, you got to get a free book. Sometimes it was a new arc, their upcoming book. Sometimes it was a paperback copy of a already published book. And I think at the very, very end of the night, sometimes if there are other books left over, then the attendees who are still there were able to take more than that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I got way more than 5. I was very chatty. I just kept going, and I didn't realize that if there were extras, they would give them to you, but I just wanted to talk to the people. So I would go and I would just chat with them, and they would give me their book because I was interested in what they were writing. So I ended up with a lot of books. I wish I'd brought a second suitcase for all the books today.
Yeah, well, actually, so that's a good tip, right? To bring an extra suitcase. Yeah, I think the fear is that people will run out of books, right? So that's why the 5 tickets is that we'll make sure everybody gets at least 5, and then see what happens after that. Yeah. And just to mention the lunch, because Jane, you mentioned that is Saturday from 12 to 1:30. That's a $49 cost, but it's really well worth it. Again, another packed room with lots of librarians and library staff. And this year is actually a panel. It's on Saturday, and it's a panel of some teens' top 10 authors, which includes A.G. Howard, Mary Pearson, and Jordan Sanablick. I never know how to say his name. Him, right? And they're going to be talking about their books, so that'll be really good as well. It's like it's not soon enough to be able to have this. So, what do you think? As a first-time attendees, what do you think are like attendees shouldn't miss? Like, I'm going to Symposium first time. What is it I want to make sure to do there? Jane, what do you think?
All the ticketed events, actually. I'm looking at the ticketed events for this year's Symposium, and I'm really sad I'm going to miss them. Like some of those other tours, like I've been to the book blitz and I've been to the luncheon, and I wouldn't want to miss those. But some of those tours look really interesting as well. and I'm very sad I'm going to miss those.
Sorry. Katie, what about you? What's, as your first time last year, what do you think is like not to be missed?
Definitely the booklets.
Yeah.
As we said, it's definitely, it's a fun way. And I think it was the last night that we were there. So it's kind of like a fun capper event.
Yeah.
But the ticketed events were amazing. All of the sessions, there wasn't really anything that I want to miss. I mean, the entire conference was really great. I didn't get to go to the author luncheon last year. And I wish that I had, and that panel sounds amazing. Yeah. So I think it's worth the $49.
Yeah, it's very reasonable. And I'm looking at the other opportunities that you were mentioning, Jane. And there's a Warhol workshop on Friday night, which is sold out. So I hope anybody watching this has actually had the chance, because that sounds awesome. And then there's a trolley tour of Pittsburgh and vintage 1920s trolley, 1 hour historical tour. I'm crazily excited about going to Pittsburgh. And like, I just feel like it's going to be a great city to be in. So that sounds awesome too. So much going on there. So people should, if they haven't thought about doing some of those extras, they should. And then what's one thing you each wish you had known or thought about before you went to the symposium? Was there something like when you were there, when you got home, you were like, oh, darn, I wish I had thought about this before I went? Katie, was there anything you had thought you'd wish you'd thought about before you went?
I think the only thing I didn't know about was leaving that extra space in my luggage to bring my stuff home with me. Yeah. Or knowing when the UPS store of the hotel was open.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Jane,
otherwise, I was pretty prepared. I was very excited.
Yeah, Jane, is there anything you wish you had known? I mean, you were so involved in planning last year, but is there something you would wish you'd thought about or known before you went?
The same thing. Like I wasn't planning on shipping anything because I knew there wasn't an exhibit hall. So, but I don't travel very heavily anyway, so I already had space in my luggage. But I did only pick up 5 books. But I was, allowed to pick up more, but I didn't. Yeah. But I'm sure if you needed that space, definitely bring an extra piece of luggage, maybe just even a tote bag that you can ship or check.
Yeah, I think that's good. And I actually, for me, I always think I wish I'd planned better for just like time to talk to people, because there's so many. One of the things I love about the symposium is that it's just us, right? It's not like ALA Midwinter or even a state conference, which is all different kinds of library staff. It's like just people interested in teens and teen services. So I always wish I had planned more for like just giving myself time to talk to people. So did you find networking like a really good opportunity? Did you meet people? Any tips on networking during the symposium?
I find it very awkward to talk to people. So networking is difficult for me sometimes, but the symposium made that a lot easier because it was very natural for me being in that environment. As you said, with everybody who works with teens, and there you already have some common ground to talk to people. So I found that again, being like the sessions don't give you a lot of time to network with people, but the ticketed events do. So I got to talk to a lot of people during the luncheon. I got to talk to a lot of people during the book blitz. Yeah. And the opening session, in fact, I sat with Asia Mayrock, who was the opening speaker last year in Portland. And I got to talk to her a lot. And in fact, she's speaking at my book festival at my library in 2 weeks. So that was very, very successful as well.
So that's actually a different kind of networking than I was thinking about, but right, networking with authors and presenters, speakers, and then you might be able to have more opportunity to work with them. Katie, what about you in the networking? Any tips for that?
Twitter and Instagram really helped me network with people because during the sessions, it is very hard to talk to people because people are presenting and you don't want to be rude. But Twitter allows you that opportunity to have like back channel conversations with people. So I was able to expand my personal network online.
That's great.
For sure. And it was amazing. So I would definitely recommend if you're on Twitter, to make sure that you're following the hashtag, or if you're not on Twitter, maybe think about getting on Twitter for the conference, because there are definitely some chatty people on there, and they love to talk about what's going on because they're very excited about it like we are, and it gives us another opportunity to kind of meet them.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I remember the first symposium I went to, like people I had never met before but knew from Twitter. I was like, oh my gosh, that's you! Yay! Let's talk face to face. So that's a really good point. Yeah, there's all different ways to network, and actually, that's the other thing is afterwards you still can connect with people that you met there through Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and continue to have the conversation. That's great. And I'm remembering from last year, one of my favorite things was I'd be in the lobby waiting to meet someone for dinner, and like someone would walk by and we just start a conversation while we were waiting. And that's always, I think that's it, is you just have to be open to it. And it's hard sometimes, and not being scared to walk up to people and say, hey, you here for the symposium? And just starting a conversation, which I know, Jane, I have trouble with that too. It's really hard. But you can meet some really great people that way. So it's really, I think it's a really big benefit of the symposium is the fact that we're all out there for the same focus, and that's a lot of fun. So is there anything else, like thinking about preparing before people go? You know, we talked about the luggage, but are there other things, like, I don't know, sometimes people say, well, should I read anything, or should I read all the books of the authors I'm going to see, or are there things that people should do before they go, not that might help them be ready? Katie, any tips on that?
I think just reading through all of the different session blurbs to see what's going to be there and kind of mapping out where you want to go. That was very helpful. And then for the book blitz, when you get there, I remember they gave you like a list of the authors and then like little author blurbs. So, I mean, you can't really do that necessarily up front, but it is something like that first night, you kind of read through that to see what's interesting to you. I think that kind of helps you map out what you want to do while you're there.
Yeah. That's a great tip. That's a really good idea, to just plan. And it doesn't mean you can't change your mind, right? But you get started that way. That's great. Jane, how about you? Any tips for people before they get there or as they're planning?
Definitely the scheduling. There are sessions going on at the same time, and everything sounds interesting. So it's you can't be in two places at once. So maybe knowing which one you would like to stay at, and looking at the book blitz list again. I didn't do that, so I was frantically looking through everything when I was there and thinking, which ones do I want to pick up? Because I was not going to pick up 30 books. So that helps if you're kind of waiting in line and you have those 5 tickets on like who to go to first.
Right.
I also felt afterwards, and I did this after the symposium, I ordered a portable charger for my phone. So that's something you should definitely bring. When attending symposiums or like conferences is about the only time that I use social media, really. And I found that one, you needed your phone to be charged, but 2, I was very slow, and maybe preparing some pre-prepared tweets, or maybe knowing tags ahead of time, at least for me, would have been a little more useful, because it took me, like 5 minutes to compose like one tweet.
Maybe you need a keyboard.
Maybe. I type really slow on my phone.
Yeah, that charger idea is great. And I'll add the hashtags and stuff to this video so people can see those. But that's a really great idea. I forget that all the time, to have a charger. Or I'm looking for a plug. It's like there's no plug around in the meeting room or the conference room, and you're stuck. So that's a really good point. And so Jane, you said you did it afterwards with the charger, but one of the things that I know for me when I was working in libraries, like I'd have to go back and present or write something up. So, or even if I didn't have to, I sometimes wanted to talk to people about what I saw or learned or whatever. Do you have tips, anybody, about things that maybe library staff who are attending the symposium might do to keep going or to tell other people? Katie, any thoughts from you about that?
So I took lots of notes and then kind of revisited them throughout my school year. I didn't have to make a presentation to anybody, but I did share a lot of what I had taken down that was applicable to schools and share them with colleagues that were in my school district.
That's great.
And with my media assistant. So that was kind of how I kept it going. It's just I added it to kind of like my running list of things ideas that I wanted to try out in the library.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything formal.
No, that's okay, but that's great. I mean, that's the thing for me is like I come up with I have all these ideas, and then how do let's do one of those ideas, or how do I decide? And sometimes talking to other people can help you do that. Jane, any tips on that?
I actually did have to present on when I got back, but I do make it a habit after every conference to write up absolutely everything I did when I was there, and it's not a novel, long write up, but I did write about every session I attended and what I learned there, and then what I perhaps wanted to do with that knowledge, like if I wanted to do a program with it, or if there was just something I needed more study on, or perhaps other people in my library who might be interested in that particular topic, because sometimes I don't really have to be the one that carries out that idea. I could just pass it on to somebody else. So after I get back, I write out, it's usually just a 1 page of just everything I've attended, and I send it to my director, my supervisors, and just thanking them that they gave me this opportunity to go. And then afterwards, I presented what I learned to the library commission. So I guess it wasn't required for me to do, but it was something that I wanted to do afterwards. And also, yes, write up all your ideas. But one tip about that is to maybe not be too over enthusiastic about everything you want to do when you get back, because you may overwhelm your administrators with that. I don't think I did that this time around, but I do think that you will get all of these ideas and you want to try everything out at the same time, but maybe pace yourself afterwards. And that's where that list of ideas really comes in handy. Then you could keep looking back on it and seeing what you want to do.
Right. That's great. I love that. Yes, you could leave so excited, and also I end up being disappointed when I'm like all excited, and then I didn't get to do that. So that's a great tip. And then I have a last question, and it's, what was your favorite thing about attending the symposium? Why am I saying anything else? What was your favorite thing? Katie, what was your favorite thing about attending the symposium?
My favorite thing was the people. I loved meeting the other librarians, and I loved meeting the authors too. Everybody was just excited to be there. So it was so fun to have conversations with people that were as excited about working with teens as I was. Like Jane was saying earlier, it was just great to talk to people and get ideas while you were networking. Which you don't always get the opportunity to do at other conferences. So it was unique, and it was really great. It was probably one of the first times I got to really have conversations with a lot of authors at once too. And that was really great, because last year they also had a panel about We Need Diverse Books. Mm-hmm. I got to talk to them for a while, and it was just really great. Yeah. That was probably my favorite part.
That's awesome. That's great. Jane, do you have a favorite part?
I would echo that the people that attend are definitely, not that, people who attend ALA aren't that interesting, but this is definitely a more focused group of people, and I really liked talking to all the other librarians that were there. And I just feel like everybody I meet is going to be an opportunity sometime, because they're so focused in this field. I also, while I was there, I just kept thinking, I can't believe that was the first time I was at the symposium, because I've been to a lot of conferences, and that was by far my favorite. Yeah. So I think, yeah, if I had to take choose between all of the different conferences, I definitely go to the symposium.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And actually, I'm remembering something I was going to say before. It's one of my favorite things, and it goes with the people part, is that during breaks, at least some of the breaks, there's coffee and snacks, and and that's awesome. The coffee and snacks and other stuff is really good, but it's also a great way. Like, I would leave a session and other people would be leaving. It would be a great way to all sort of hang out together and talk about what we just heard or make plans or whatever. And I'd actually, I thought about that, is that is just like such a nice chance to get to talk to people, and really just in those short breaks, I can't remember, like 15-minute or half-hour breaks in between, there's really a great opportunity to bond. And also, I'll just give a pitch for YALSA. All of the YALSA staff is there, and they are helping out with the symposium. They're helping with registrations. Also a great way to get to know YALSA staff. I've always loved that opportunity to just talk to the people who are doing all that work. So that for me has been a lot of fun, and they become like colleagues and friends when you start doing that kind of thing. So that's really great too. So anything else you think people should know about the symposium if they're going for the first time or taking a refresher on what it's like? It's okay if not. That's great. Well, thank you both for joining me for this half hour or so to record and talk about the symposium. I really appreciate it. And we will be seeing, well, actually, I won't get to see either of you at the symposium this year, but I will be there. So if you're there, feel free to say hello and chat for a bit. I'll be going to the sessions and also probably at the coffee. Maybe not eating some of the pastries, but definitely at the coffee. So thanks again, Jane and Katie, and I'll see everybody else who's going to be there in November, which is now just 2 months away. Bye.
Bye.